Welcome, everyone. Hello, Whitney from West Virginia. Oh, hello, Linda from West
Linda.
Virginia.
Ooh, lots of volunteers. That's a people, that's a people challenge sometimes. Hi, Jennifer James. If you haven't, if you just got on, if you could put your name, organization, how many employees you have, and where you're located in the chat.
Hello, hello. We're happy to see you here. We forgot to put on our entrance music, Sarah. Hype
Oh,
everyone up, pump everybody up, uh, get everyone dancing while we're here. That actually never really happens, but I like to think it would happen.
I don't know how to do that well. That would be fun.
Oh,
Definitely.
yes. I'd have to think long and hard about what my walk-on music, like the sports athletes, would be. But what my startup would be. Hi, Jennifer from Syracuse, Ford board members and volunteers. Hi, Solomon from Ghana. Excellent. Happy to have you. Okay, so if you're just joining now, we are happy to have you, and we're going to get started in one moment. Um, if you'll just put your name, your org, how many employees you have, and where you're located, we would greatly appreciate that.
Excited to see the crowd that we have come out today.
Yes,
Hopefully it's cooler where you guys are. It is very hot and muggy in West Virginia today, where I am located.
it is the same right outside of DC today. Little too much information, but I actually took my dog out this morning, realized how humid it was. You could tell by my hair, came back in, ran a flat iron through it, and then said, I can't go out again until after this because I did not want to look like a chia pet on this call today.
Yeah, I have the same
Okay.
curly hair. So,
Yeah. Try to pretend that I'm not a frisbee. So I've got about four after. I say we give people one more minute, and then we call it and we get started so that we can start on time and end on time. Hello, Joseph. 10 employees, 9 board members, another person from West Virginia. Amazing.
I'm so excited to have all of you from West Virginia. I provide lots of opportunities within the state. Some upcoming opportunities include I'll be working with Grant Station. We'll be offering an online program next week on AI for nonprofits, and I'm going to be at the upcoming West Virginia Nonprofit Association conference in October, and just got signed up for the um, West Virginia Recovery Residents uh, uh, Association of Recovery Residents um, conference that'll be in September. So lots of opportunities coming up in the fall. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so excited to welcome all of you um, to our presentation today. It's being offered through my organization, which is Nonprofit 411. We provide fundraising strategy and support for nonprofits. We believe every nonprofit should have a diverse fundraising strategy that allows them to become sustainable. And so we support in a variety of ways. One of the ways that we do this is by providing training, both through Nonprofit 411 directly, and then I invite experts like Rachel Platt, who is our speaker today, to come on and share their expertise. I'm very excited to welcome Rachel Platt. from HR Consulting to our training today. She's going to be talking to you about people strategy. And that's one of the challenges as many nonprofits, have as they grow is that they bring along a lot of people with them. And so she's going to be talking about how we can help manage that. So she has a long history of uh, experience in human resources and lots to share. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. For those of you who are here, if you can turn on, we're a small group, a little smaller than we expected today, which is fine, actually way more fun, and hopefully way more interactive. So if you can turn on your camera, I would love to see your faces. If you can't, no problem. Um, but I am hoping that we will make this as interactive as a session as possible, because otherwise it will be kind of a boring hour of me giving you a monologue. And that is just not a great way for adults to learn. And also, you all are experts in what you do. So the concept of sharing ideas, sharing what's worked, being honest about what hasn't worked or what you're struggling with right now. I have left a lot of time in our session for interactivity. So please do not leave Sarah and I. We know each other. Please do not leave the two of us here chatting with each other. It's so awkward. So I'm going to really ask you up front to lean in with me. And let's talk and let's learn from each other. So, what is it that we are actually going to cover today? We've got a big agenda. We're going to talk about what people strategy really is, how it's a little bit different from HR, um, what the core elements of your people strategy are, how to think about some real examples, how you can do this on a budget, and talking some more about what has worked and hasn't worked for you all as individuals. And we can do some problem solving in there also on the fly. So, you all have told us a little bit about you. We are thrilled to have you. Just a little bit about me. As Sarah mentioned, I am a 20-year HR executive. I started my own practice in 2018 after realizing that being the head of a large organization's human resources department is really, it felt a lot more like a political job to me than actually helping people, making a difference, making an impact. And that was always what I loved, the part of the job that I loved. And I had gotten so far away from it. And that also brought me back to my not-for-profit roots and really I wanted to make an impact and I wanted to work with organizations that is all about mission and impact. And so now I work with organizations across the country, really focused on organizations with 10 or more human beings that are interacting, whether they are volunteers, whether they are board members, whether they are employees, whether they are consultants, but 10 or more humans, they make things complicated. Humans are, we euphemistically say, quirky. We bring, humans tend to bring some interesting dynamics to the workplace, and we need to think about how we can work together and make all of our individual quirks actually into our superpowers. And I do that by building the programs. Lots of HR professionals, and a little bit of what we're going to about today is the day-to-day and compliance aspects of having employees. But really, where the magic happens is when you start thinking about people strategy and you start looking at holistically how you are going to attract, develop, grow future leaders, assess your talent, and how you are going to do your performance management and what it looks like when people exit your organization. So, those are the programs that I put together. To put it in very simple terms, I rarely am involved in onboarding Joe on Monday. I am involved in talking about what your onboarding program looks like. And so that's a little bit of what we're going to focus on today. So I just want to make sure for those of you who are on camera or for those of you who aren't, you can use your electronic hands. Um, can you see my screen? Um, Thumbs up if you can see my screen appropriately. Okay, and you can see the screen because I have three monitors going. Just want to make sure you can see the screen that does not have all of my notes. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Whitney, I see your electronic hand and I love it. Thank you. So, this graphic, if you think about an organization, really of any size, what happens is that larger organizations and not-for-profit organizations specifically tend to start their HR journeys in silos, meaning that, oh, we have an immediate problem that needs to be solved. We need someone to make sure that people are getting paid. Okay, we have somebody doing payroll. Oh, we're hiring someone. We need somebody to do some recruiting and interviewing. Oh, we need someone to make sure if we're offering benefits. We may need someone to do, and this can be one someone, by the way, but it's very siloed how they think about the projects. And they often say, well, I'm a not-for-profit. I have to make do with less. I have to figure out how to get this done on a budget. And that is true. But not-for-profit, nonprofit, that is a tax status. It's not a business model. And so we have to think about the fact that our profits in a not-for-profit, they go back to our stakeholders. They go back to our programs, our clients, our constituents, our community we serve. They go to our staff, not to actual shareholders. But we are about making money. We are about making a profit so that we can have more impact, so we can expand our reach. And so we need to think a little bit more entrepreneurially and a little bit more in the for-profit realm of how we become strategic about using our limited resources and not just solving for immediate problems that are right in front of us. So these are all really important. This graphic is all really important aspects of HR. And, a spoken wheel model is is often how people get started. But what got you here is not going to get you there where you want to go. And so I really prefer to think of it as a puzzle piece. You need to fit these things together. And Whitney, I'm glad you're here with your puzzle with your puzzle logo. Um, you really need to think about all of these components that are coming together as your people strategy, because what it really is a holistic approach. It's not just looking at employee relations, which is often solving issues, or employee engagement, which is often focused on how do we retain our staff. You're not only looking at how do we hire people or how do we give them feedback. You're looking at it all so that you're creating a well-rounded, intertwined, interlaced organization where the individuals and their well-being and their needs and their aspirations are coming together to maximize your organization's mission and ultimately your business strategy, which leads to your organization's mission. So I just read this article. I don't know if you all have seen this kind of this recent survey from the National Council of Not-for-Profits. It was talking about how when you ask not-for-profit leaders what would change in their people strategy, what is like the one thing that would have an impact? And about 80% of leaders said if I could pay more money, the employees said that their primary reason for departure was stress and not feeling valued by their organization. That's a pretty big disconnect that you have. Now, I'm not saying that money would not help the problem, but the reality is money is not the solution to the problem. Um, what is the solution is intentional attention being given to your people strategy. That is the solution. I have seen it time and time again, and I can give you so many examples. Um, because when employers, leaders, people leaders are focused, are intentional and deliberate about their interactions and their relationships with their team, they're deliberate about creating clarity, all of those things actually improve retention, improve employee engagement and employee satisfaction, and improve their employees referring their colleagues to come work there. So it's really important. And if you want to look up that survey, I have all of the information. A lot of times I find that like survey data is not as robust as I would like it to be. This is more than 1,600 employees, 50 states plus DC. So it's really kind of robust and relevant and timely. So, what does this actually mean? Your people strategy leads to your business strategy, and your business strategy needs to lead to your people strategy. How are you living your values? The things that you are selling, um, your not-for-profit, the things that you are telling your stakeholders, the things that you are using to in your fundraising, how does that relate to what's happening inside your organization? And how does it align with what your values are? And how does it reinforce what you're saying? So it is a symbiotic relationship. And the three most important things to think about are what I call the three C's. So this is culture. What's it like to work here? Do people feel seen, heard, and valued? Clarity. Do people know what is expected of them? Do they know what their role and responsibilities are? Because very often, in the not-for-profits that I have been part of, people wear a lot of hats. And where they start and someone else picks up, and who's ultimately responsible for something is not always as clear as we would like it to be. And what magnifies that is the fact that often human beings are a little bit conflict avoidant, and we don't like to have difficult conversations. And then you add on top of that the stereotypical, compassionate, human focused, people focused individuals that are in many not for profits, not all, it is a stereotype. But you add that in, and all of a sudden, no one wants to give meaningful feedback that might hurt someone's feelings. But the reality is, if you learn how and you teach your managers how to have those conversations and to give feedback, it's not personal. It's a gift that you are giving someone of what is expected of them, how they are doing that and meeting and exceeding those expectations. We say the word feedback and people automatically think negative, but the reality is so much of feedback is about positive and reinforcing feedback. Linda, I loved how you did XYZ today. It really had an impact, and I'm giving this feedback in a timely manner. And what I really noticed that you did was XYZ. I'm being very specific about it. And how do we think that maybe you could teach that to other people on the team so that they could learn from you? And that's recognition, and that's growth, and that's you stepping in to a more valued and appreciated role. So it's all of that clarity. And then on the flip side, if someone does need to be redirected, otherwise known as constructive feedback, um, that's fine too, because that's also not personal. That is, here's what the expectation is, and here's where we need to go. And here's what success looks like. Because I imagine you come to work wanting to be successful every day. Most people don't come to work wanting to do a bad job. So giving people that clarity is really a huge part of meeting your mission. It is a huge part of getting the value out of your fundraising, because you then are able to be very clear about what needs to be done and what success looks like. And then finally, capability. Are people equipped? Do they have what they need in order to be successful? Would they speak up? Do they feel that they have the ability to speak up, to say, there's a better way to do this? Or have we tried? Or could we think about? And all of those different things. So those are our three C's. Um, and every single one of them can be done on a budget. Every single one of them ultimately comes down to asking questions. But before you ask those questions, you need to be sure that your team, your staff, your board, your volunteers feels like they're not going to be penalized, punished, cut off at the knees, whatever expression it is that you want to use. They need to feel comfortable, safe, that their opinion is valued. That's not to say, let's be very, very clear. This is not woo-woo kind of hokey dokey stuff. This is about accountability, and this is not to say that you need to take everyone's opinion. It's just that their opinions can be heard, their ideas can be considered. That is what our goal needs to be. So before I'm going to ask you, so I'm giving you all a hint. that we are coming up on a time when I'm going to ask you to come off of mute, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So I've got another slide, and then that's coming. So everybody take your deep breath, because it's coming. So, people strategy. What does this actually look like? What does this sound like? Um, well, this looks like a proactive culture. This looks like we don't respond to every complaint that every individual human might have, but instead, we look at trends. We look at what is good for the broad community, community, however you define community. And we look at what is the culture that we're trying to have. Just because I like working in a very open, communicative environment, that does not mean that everybody else does. And understanding what you value in your organization. Some organizations, I have two really opposed clients right now that I'm working with, and neither of them are wrong. One values speed and fiscal responsibility. The other is values caring and time. And so neither of those are right or wrong. They're just different areas that these groups focus on. And so it's not that the other group isn't caring, but if you are scheduled for 15 minutes, you get 15 minutes. You don't get an hour and 15 minutes, which then derails that organization's rest of their day. And again, no pluses or minuses, no pros or cons to these, but it's being proactive and sharing in your orientation, in your interviewing process to make sure that you're finding team members that are aligned with what your values are. Doesn't, again, not right or wrong, just aligned. What does this sound like? This should sound like having regular conversations with people. This should sound like dialogue back and forth, not a one-way monologue. This should sound like regular feedback, not just once a year when when you feel obligated to do an annual review. This should look like um, celebrating wins, celebrating accomplishments, championing, supporting people on both a personal and professional level. Um, and not just championing and acknowledging and celebrating, but also pitching in for each other and supporting each other when things don't go as planned. Because that's really what creates this sense of inclusion and belonging. Like this is not politics. I'm not playing politics. This is not about what your identity is, what color your skin is, what your gender is, who you love. It's not about any of those things. It's about showing up at work and feeling like my life experience matters here. I can bring something to the table. And so empowering your teams in that way has proven in all the data, I'm a little bit of a data wonk, in all the data that organizations that do celebrate those wins, support people in their personal and professional lives, those are the organizations that are the most successful by whatever standard you want to measure success. Profitability, yes. Longevity, yes. Retention of staff, yes. Employee satisfaction, yes. Yes, 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 for a million more that you could throw out there. And the other thing that people strategy looks like is that this is not your executive director's job. This is everybody's job. Everybody in the organization is a leader in some way. So I am curious. Um, I'm listening and I'm going to take us off of screen share for a moment so that I can see everyone's faces. Um, I'm really curious. What people challenges do you have in your organization right now? What keeps you up at night? Anyone? Oh, Joseph, hello. So good to see you. Happy to have you. Tell me what keeps you up at night.
Um, at our organization, we're a recovery organization that we have a couple recovery residences, one for men and one for women, and then we operate a community center that kind of doubles as an admin office. My office is there at the community center now. Our day shift works really close together. I mean, we've got a lot to do, a lot that goes on the day to day, lots of scheduling. We have 32 residents that we're working together to navigate all that. But in our on our evening shift and our night shift, that's a different story. Evening shift is somewhat connected because we have a lot of evening events that there's some overlap, but night shift working like from midnight to 6 a.m., it's very, very difficult for us to include them as part of the team. Um, they're not with us. They're not side by side, doing this along with us. The best that we have is like a group chat to where we try to keep them informed and try to correspond with them as things happen that we feel that they need to know about. But it's been difficult for me to bring them in as part of the team to have that culture like we do on the day shift.
Anyone have any ideas? Any suggestions? Anything you've done that has worked that might help, Joseph?
We also have three different shifts. I mean, I work for the foundation, but we're part of a larger organization. Um, but if we're doing an event for employees, we do it three times. Even if we're having like a town hall or a discussion, we repeat it three times so that all shifts are covered. And that means some staff have to come in at 11:30 at night.
But how many times a year does that even happen?
I mean, we do town halls every month.
Hmm.
And like tomorrow we're having an employee picnic. So the biggest one is from like 11:30 to 1, but then we're repeating it at 4:30, and then we're also doing something at 11 p.m.
That's been a somewhat of an issue too, is just having events throughout the day that maybe we're having a fundraising event and we love for everybody to be there, but our night shift maybe have worked from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and now they need to be asleep. And so yeah, that's been difficult too sometimes. But
I
Linda, do
didn't
you have
have
any idea? Sorry, go
I
ahead,
didn't have
Sam.
I didn't have multiple shifts, but I had 9 locations, 11 locations when I finished HR. And so being very intentional about including each group as its own entity, as well as part of the whole, was something that we had to practice. Um, and we did find that there were times where we needed to, and we ended up having to pay them. So, like, we were paying them to come at that earlier hour or at that time, even if it was for something that might have been considered fun, but because it was so important to help build that culture that we wanted to create, it was definitely challenging. And the other thing that I'll just mention is that I wonder if there's a key time when you have three shifts. When I used to work 5 a.m. to 1 and I managed a team of 15. I don't really recommend it. They were working till 4 and I was working really early. Um, But I did learn that like lunch was a key and vital time. Like it was a time where like they unloaded um and they problem solved together. And like if I missed that, if I'm as the manager missing that key portion of their time, then I was missing something very, very important. And so like that might be another thing, like when is night shifts very key time? And I do think like you would have to do that your things at that time, but understanding their team dynamic and kind of building into that very their structure. I don't know if that's possible, but
Linda or Whitney, have anything to add to help our friend Joseph? So Joseph, the only idea that I have for you is to actually ask, say to the night shift, I'm really struggling with how to make you feel, as included as we want you to be. Do you have any ideas of what could work? So this is not nearly the same situation. It's actually even different from Sarah's, is that I used to work extensively internationally. And, obviously we weren't all in the same place ever. And what we found was that, like you're saying about hey, we have a group chat where we're sharing information, we created a second chat, which was our non-work chat, even though it was work people and everybody had to keep it appropriate. But that was where it was just fun and games and tell us something fun. And like periodically, someone would prompt to be like, it is June 17th at 2:38 Eastern Time. Within the next 10 hours, everyone post a selfie of where you are. Within the next, 24 hours, tell us your favorite kind of ice cream. Within, like, it was the stupider the better, I have to be honest. But it just like the cornier you can be, sometimes you have to know your audience. It doesn't work for everyone. But these are the kinds of things that it's not workplace integration, it's just team integration that can build and add to your culture, which helps make the workplace integration better.
can I add something to that?
Please do. This is an
You know,
iterative process. This is how we get better and smarter.
yeah, I think in terms of asking, I do think that's a really, really great idea. And then um asking too, like, are there challenges that we can help support you with during our shifts, right? That's an area where it's not always as favorable, but I have seen where different shifts get really irritated at the other shifts because of something vital that isn't working. But honestly, the previous shift didn't know it. Like they didn't realize how it impacted. And so like being able to have some of those harder conversations too, um, can help really go a long way in building that team morale and that like what and I think for like evening shift, it's what I do matters because it's what they do matters and I need them to be doing that really well, right? So building it all together. Are any of those helpful?
Okay. Um, Linda, Jennifer, Whitney, you have a problem you want us to solve for? Or is everything perfect in your world? I'm just kidding. Nothing's ever perfect.
No.
We don't even have to solve for it, but like, what's the biggest thing you're facing?
Our agency is ran totally by volunteerism. We don't have any paid staff. So getting the board members motivated is probably my biggest problem.
Are
Are
you
you
the
a
Local
board
executive?
board
member?
members, but I can't get them motivated to do things.
Tell us more.
Well, like I said, we are all run by volunteerism, and we do have fundraisers periodically. I do an online auction once a month. We get tons of support from our community. They donate us stuff and they bid on the stuff, and then we have a big fundraiser in the fall. We do a walk. It's just and dinners. It's just trying to get the board members to actually participate in the fundraising and give us some ideas on what we can do different, maybe. I don't know.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you have board governance? Like, is there a board term? Do you have, I mean, because roles and responsibilities is the same for employees as they are for board members.
Right.
Um, do you have a written, these are your roles and responsibilities? Not that you want to kick board members off,
Right.
but like, hey, if you don't feel that you can fulfill at least 75% of these over the course of the year, then maybe it's time for you to come off the board. And when your schedule will allow, we'll be happy to talk about having you back on the
Yeah,
board.
we're fairly, we've been operating for like 5 years now. And like I said, it's all volunteer. So, no, we don't have anything in writing for the board members per se, what their duties are and what we expect of them. So that might be something for me to look into. Yeah.
I would highly recommend it. When human psychology says that when humans know what is expected of them, they are far more likely to do it or to communicate that they won't do it. When they
Yeah.
think that, well, I'm doing what's necessary, or I don't have to, or it's optional, or Linda is so nice to me, she invites me to these things. Actually, I'm not really inviting you. I'm really saying it's your job as a board member.
Right.
I'm just too polite to make, to think about it otherwise. Um, I, I would say that I mean, I encourage all of my clients, and those who have put a board handbook together of board expectations,
Uh-huh.
really, they do lose some board members, but they find new board members who actually are willing to contribute, and they end up coming back and saying that they're far more successful and appreciative, because then they also have something to fall back on of, well, we told you what we expected.
So is there like a list or some resource where I can go to find out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, there are several. I mean, you
How
honestly,
to put it in writing, without
yeah,
being mean.
yeah. I mean, truly, you could Google a board handbook,
Okay.
um, and board expectations. I know that it's not called Boardify anymore. What is Board Source?
Board source. I
Um,
was going to say board source is pretty good.
yeah, Board Source is excellent.
Okay.
Um, if you're into AI at all, I would tell you that a very quick prompt into Chat GPT, even the free Chat GPT, if you said, I'm just reading back what you put in here, Linda, but if you said, we are a not-for-profit that does X in Buckhannon, West Virginia. I'm not even sure if I pronounced that right.
You did. Not
What
very many people do, so you did good.
um, we have 9 board members, lots of volunteers, and here is what we do, here's what we serve. Please give me a list of board roles and responsibilities. It will come back and it will give you something to
Yeah.
start with. It won't be perfect, but
Mhm.
it will give you, oh yeah, we want that. Nope, we don't want that. And it'll be
Okay.
really good.
I've never used AI. I don't know much about it.
You can just
Okay.
use Google and you'll find something for sure. And Board Source is phenomenal. Board
Yeah.
Source,
Okay.
I think,
And it's free. Most of board source is free to download.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I second the job description. I also recommend, I have it up on my screen because if you'd like, I can share it. But I have a local chamber of commerce and I loved the way they recruited. So in their recruitment, they had a long email and it said, this is who we are. And then it answered questions. So it did it in a question format. So
FAQ format?
Mhm.
no, so it says like when are the MOV chamber board meetings held? And it says the board of director meetings are typically scheduled for the fourth Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So like it told them up front what to
Mhm.
expect. Besides attending monthly meetings, and this is the question that you would want to have if you're recruiting. Besides
Mhm.
attending the monthly board meetings, what are the duties of being a board member? And included there are that board attendance at special events. Board members are encouraged to support the chambers through sponsorship, donations, and volunteering. And board members are also to participate in at least one committee. So, like up front, before they're even signing on to be a board member, they have a
Mhm.
really clear picture of what it's going to be like to serve on their board. Um,
Okay.
I I have another board that I am a president on, and the expectation is approximately 2 hours a week may be requested for supporting the organization. So, and I think that that's where often we sometimes neglect to provide enough information. Um, and then equipping them for fundraising, a lot of times we say that we want their help fundraising. Well, I think really defining that and giving them a very specific, like, here's an email. We would like you to send it out to your business contacts and see if they would be interested in learning more about our organization from you, or to see if they might partner with us on this or, sponsor whatever that is. But giving them like that initial message of what they can send out. And if you need help creating those messages, again, I think that you can Google that, and ChatGPT is a great assistant, or Perplexity can do research into that. Those are two different AIs, and both are really helpful. But they're just going out. You can do it on Google too. If you're not comfortable with those, you can do it on Google too.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time left, so I'm going to take us back so that I can give you a few other tips to walk away with, a few other things that I have seen be successful. Um, Unfortunately, this does not want to let me share my screen anymore. Great. One more sec. We're gonna try this again. Um, okay, thumbs up. We good?
Yes.
Can you
Yeah.
see the proper screen? Great. Only problem is I can't see the screen, but that's okay. Three monitors, nothing to see. So, just so you know, I don't have my notes in front of me. I'm just rolling off the top of my head right now. Um, so the one thing I want you to walk away with is, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. This does not take a lot of money. It does take time and it does take being intentional about it. The biggest bang for your either low or no buck, as the expression goes, is your feedback loops. It's implementing regular one-on-one meetings. That can be with your board, Linda, to say, what do you like about being on this board? How specifically can you contribute more? What do you not want to do? Because look, if you've got somebody who never wants to come to one of your in-person fundraising events, but they are spectacular at writing communications, awesome. You be you, you do the thing that you do best and want to do best, and we can figure out how to supplement that. But understanding whether it's your employee, your volunteer, your board member, what their aspirations are, what they think is going well, they think is not going well, and creating that in a dialogue environment is really, really critical. It also makes, when you need to have a difficult conversation, it makes it so much easier. If you do have employees and there are supervisors in between, having skip level meetings is one of the best things that you can do. That is where the the executive director or a senior level human would have a meeting, not with the direct manager, but with the manager's direct reports. What's working well for you? What ideas do you have? How is it working with your supervisor? What could we do to make this better? How could we improve our processes? Whatever the case may be, really giving that exposure to leadership and the exposure to different ideas that you may not hear in a group environment, no matter how close you are, is a really, really low cost, high impact thing that you can do. Being creative in your compensation, um, recognition, time off, flexibility, leadership development opportunities outside of their immediate scope of what their role is, those are ways to demonstrate your appreciation. Whether that is a mental health day, if possible, letting someone leave early, asking someone to attend a professional development or a meeting that maybe you would have attended, but maybe asking them to either go to it with you or to attend on your behalf and report back. Although that can be seen as work, it also can be, if you frame it correctly, it can be also seen as, this is recognition. I want to see you grow. And here's why I'm offering you this opportunity. Speaking of recognition, celebrating those small wins, those personal and professional um, life cycle events, peer-to-peer recognition. I have a client, I mean, again, this goes back to like sometimes the cornier the better. They have an award that they call the Seal of Approval Award, and they literally have a stuffed animal. It is a seal. And they hand that seal out, goes from person to person to person when they want to recognize someone. In my old environment, I mean, I worked in a building with 400 people. And we had the monthly paper plate awards. The only thing that you needed to pay for was a 500 bag of paper plates, and then everyone else would decorate them so that, hey, Jennifer, I am naming you. And it was kind of like senior superlatives or whatever from your high school yearbook. I'm giving Jennifer the blah, blah, blah award. And they would decorate the paper plate, and it was funny. And people were creative and showed a different side of themselves. And hey, if that works for your culture, you've got to find what works for your culture. But let me tell you, those things cost like less than $10 a year. We can figure out ways to make those things happen. And just a general wellness, employee-centric approach, where people do feel connected to the mission and the why and why you work here and the good and the impact, and connecting them as individuals to the success and the impact of the organization is such a impactful and way to really enhance long-term engagement, long-term retention. There are a million free and low cost resources that are out there. We've already talked about Board Source. I would consider for all of you, if you're not familiar with the nonprofit cooperative, it is a free organization to all not-for-profits. They have about 7,000 members from across the globe, where there's lots of resources available, and there is a ton of training available. Ton. So if you were thinking about offering some additional professional development to your team, like almost every other day, you could go to a webinar, a lunch and learn, a this, a that. Here's fundraising, here's marketing, here's you name it. They've got it. So we are nearing the end. Any of these ideas, do you feel any of them are compelling? Do any of them work for you? What are you going to do in the next 30 days to enhance your people strategy a little bit?
I'm
Rachel, could
definitely
you?
gonna check out the board.
Boardsource.org.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that and make some board expectations.
Okay, glad to hear it.
Rachel, could you repeat that resource for that training?
It's the nonprofit cooperative.org. I will pull up their website right now for you, and make sure that that is what it is. Yes, it's nonprofitcooperative.org.
Thanks.
Yes. Few other resources for you. If you use your phone, I also can put the links in the chat. But if you use your phone, this will take you to my a feedback prep guide. Like if you need to give feedback to anyone, good or bad, as a leader, here are some questions that you should be asking yourself before you do it. You can either take a picture or you can use this code, which I have no idea how I can put it into the chat. I swear I'm really not a moron on Zoom. I'm on Zoom like all day long, and now I can't see a darn thing. Okay, I can't put it in the chat right this minute. And I'm happy to do a 15-minute consultation. Like, yeah, if anybody has another issue, like Linda or Joseph, gave us an issue and we tried to problem solve, I'm happy to do that with one of you as well. I'm going to get out of, oh, look, there we go. Now I can put it in. This is the link to give you the download, and this is the link to schedule a meeting. Um, Don't you love it when nothing really wants to work? It's always one of those awesome things. Yes. Oh, Sarah, thank you. I see that you put both of those into the chat as well. Both of those links. So thank you. Okay. We are exactly on time. Thank you for spending this hour with me. Thank you, Sarah, for hosting us. Thank you all for participating and learning together. And I wish you a stronger and better people strategy as you move forward. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you,
Bye.
Linda.
Bye.